All right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm going to explain my material about planning lesson. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Windana Alvina, and I'm going to explain more about planning lesson. Slide, please. Okay, so here's are the contents. There are four main topics that we're going to discuss about. The first one is about the definition. The second one is about the planning paradox. The third one is about pre-planning and planning. And the last one is about planning a sequence of lessons. Next slide, please. The first one is about definition. Okay, so what is planning lesson? Lesson planning or planning lesson is the process that the teachers use to outline the content, structure, and methodology of their teaching for a specific lesson. It involves creating and detailed guide that includes objective, instructional materials, activities, assessment, and timelines to ensure effective teaching and learning. Kita ketahui juga planning lesson ini bisa disebut sebagai RPP ataupun juga modul. Jadi, by planning a lesson, the learning activities are expected to achieve the learning objective successfully. But there are some interesting things that I read from Jeremy that I'm going to explain in the next topics. Next slide, please. So, there is topics about the planning paradox. Next slide. So, what is planning paradox? Let's take the words of paradox. Paradox is a statement or situation that seems contradict with one another, which it seems that if one part of it is true and the other part of it is cannot be true. So, in general, we can conclude that planning paradox refers to the contradiction that arises when planning leads to worse outcomes. When the teachers want plans to make the lesson successful, but it can be contradict that plans make the leads to worse outcomes. Okay, next slide, please. So here are the example of planning paradox. The first one is about magic moments. It refers to a situation in which the teachers add a topic outside of the lesson to enhance the learning, but this topic attracts greater attention from the students and interrupt the learning process. Next slide, please. The next one is about sensible departure. So this refers to the situation where students ask or point out things that outside of the learning activity. This can cause confusion for the teacher to because it is outside the lesson plan. This is also leads that when the students are asked and the teachers have to reply or react for what they have asked, it can make the plan turn into a mess and the teachers have to go back into the track. Next slide, please. Okay, and the last lesson planning paradox is unforeseen problems. This refers to the situation where students start to work with the learning activities we have planned. Using a plan means having a constant dialogue between what we want to do and what we want to actually happen. These unforeseen problems are the reason why teachers should always have a backup plan during learnings. And this material will be explained in the next slide. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's get going to the pre-planning and planning. Slide. Okay, so what is pre-planning? Pre-planning is a stage where the teachers gathers ideas, materials, and possible starting off points, while planning is a stage where the teachers try to make and process these ideas and materials in the lesson plan. Next slide, please. Okay, so there are a few things that we have to consider in making lesson plan, such as student needs, syllabus type, and lesson stage. I will explain these. Okay, so the first one is student needs. Student needs refers to the various requirements and conditions that is necessary for the students to achieve academic success or personal development. And syllabus types refers to the structure, content, approach of syllabus that includes outlines of the topic, objectives, expectation of the course. And last one is lesson stage. Lesson stage refers to the stage distinct phases or segments of a lesson that includes objective and activities and learn and teaching and learning. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are the backgrounds of the plan that we need to focus before making lesson plan. The first one is aims or goals. So aims is an outline of what the teachers want to achieve, while goals is a measurable outcomes the teachers aims to achieve. The next one is timetable fit. Timetable fit refers to the schedule or timeline that outlines the sequence of activities that and the allocated time for each lesson. Next one is about potential problems and solution. This refers to the problems that might happen in the class, and teachers are expected to make solution for the problem. The next one is success indicators. Success indicators refers to how teachers observe their lesson. Is it success or not? This helps the teachers to evaluate lesson aims that have been achieved. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to the last material about planning a sequence of lessons. Okay, sequence of lessons are divided into 6. The first one is reaction. The second one is short-term and long-term goals. The third one is thematic context. The fourth one is language planning. The fifth one is activity balance, and the last one is skills. Okay, let's get going to the first one, is reaction. Reaction refers to the direction of what we have already planned. We can start to imagine of how students will react and how we will respond to it. The next one is short-term and long-term goals. This refers to focus on how we motivate students from the start until the end of the semester to reach the goal. It is beneficial for both the teachers and students. If we manage to motivate the students, they will be success in the learning and the teachers reach their goals. The next one is thematic contents. Thematic contents is about to approach on different content in each individual lesson. Okay, and the next one is language planning. Language planning is refers to how we plan our language input during a lesson. Or we can say that it is how we plan about what are we going to say and what are we going to explain during the lessons to make an easier understandings for the students. The next one is activity balance. This refers to how we balance the activities during the classroom or during the lesson. It involves how we manage our lesson plan to cover the needs of auditory, visual, and kinesthetic students' needs. The last one is skills. Skills refers to how the teachers balance their skill in teaching. It is need various of skill during the sequence of lesson to achieve learning objectives. Okay, that's all. Next slide, please. We have reached the end of the presentation. If you have any question, you can raise your hand and type your answer in the chat box. Thank you. All right, thank you so much for the questions. I will read Ahmad Syaifuddin Ari's questions. So could you give an example of magic moments? Maybe a simple scenario when the teacher has or need these moments. Okay, so izinkan saya menjawab dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi magic moments itu adalah di mana guru itu membawakan topik di luar pembelajaran yang untuk mendukung pemahaman siswa, namun ternyata siswanya itu lebih fokus ke topik yang dibawa dari luar itu. Salah satu contoh topiknya itu, saya mengambil dari contoh mata pelajaran lain, salah satunya adalah jadi contoh itu fotosintesis. Jadi biasanya yang kita ketahui adalah fotosintesis itu cara bagaimana tumbuhan memasak apa yang dibutuhkannya pada tumbuhan untuk disebarkan ke bagian-bagian tumbuhan. Jadi terms yang digunakan di sini adalah memasak. Kan biasanya itu tuh kalau kita menjelaskan ke murid biar lebih mudah, itu kita menjelaskannya bagaimana air dan karbon dioksida diambil. Lalu dia dimasak dalam tanda kutip atau diolah menjadi oksigen. Nah, terkadang ada beberapa situasi di mana para siswa kita itu tuh lebih fokus ke maksud dari dimasuk itu tuh apa Bu gitu loh, ini nih. Nah jadi kadang yang itu membuat kita keluar dari lesson plan, kita harus menjelaskannya kembali. Dan ketika situasi itu terjadi, guru itu diharapkan untuk bisa kembali ke track di mana lesson plan dia itu sudah disiapkan agar tidak melenceng dari topik yang sudah disediakan. Apakah itu sudah cukup menjawab, Aristi? You're welcome. Is there any further questions? All right, I think there is no more questions. So thank you so much for your attention. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alright. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Anissa Laura Hazari, and today I will be presenting about testing and evaluation. Next slide, please. And this is the list of contents that we were going to discuss today. The first one is testing and assessment. The second one is types of testing. The third one is the characteristic of a good test. And the last one is type of test. Next slide, please. So testing and assessment, this is the first material. So teachers and other education professionals spends a lot of time of testing, evaluating and assessing students. So sometimes this is the to measure the students' abilities to see if they can enter a course or institution. Sometimes it is to see how well they're getting on. Sometimes it is because the student themselves want a qualification. Sometimes this assessment is formal and public, and sometimes it is informal and takes place in a day-to-day lessons. So we can make a difference between summative and formative assessment. And summative assessment, as the name suggests, is the kind of measurement that takes place to round things off or make a one-off measurements. Such tests include the end of the year test that students take or the big public exam which many students enter for. And summative assessment, on the other hand, relates to the kind of feedback teachers give students as a course is progressing and which as a result may help them to improve their performance. So this is done at the micro level every time we indicate that something is wrong and help students to get it right, but can also take a place when teachers go through the result of progress and achievement tests. Next slide, please. So this is the different type of testing. There are placement tests, diagnostic tests, progress or achievement tests, proficiency tests, and portfolio assessment. Next slide. So this is the characteristic of a good test. The first one, there is a validity. So a test is valid if a test is valid if it produces a similar result to some other measure. That is, if we can show that test A give us the same kind of result as a test B. And the second one is the reliability. So a good test should give a consistent result. So for example, if the same group of students took the same test twice within 2 days, without reflecting on the first test before they said it again, they should get the same result on each occasion. So if they took another similar test, the result should be consistent. If two group who were demonstrably alike took the test, the marking range would be the same. Next slide. So this is the types of test item. So the test item is divided into two types. There are direct and indirect test items. So a test item is direct if it's as candidate to perform the communicative skill which is being tested. An indirect test item, on the other hand, try to measure a student's knowledge and ability by getting at what lies beneath their receptive and productive skills. So whereas direct test items try to be as much like real life language as possible, while indirect items try to find out about a student's language knowledge through more controlled items. So the example of the indirect test Item types is multiple choice question, closed procedures, transformation and paraphrase, sentence reordering. And the example of the item types is create a level playing field and replicate a real life interaction. Next slide. All right, I think that's all from me. If there are any question, you guys can raise your hand or chat in the chat box. Thank you very much. So I want to answer Ariski's question. How do we implement the direct test in a passive classroom since direct test engage the students with real-life interaction? So to implement a direct test in a passive classroom, I guess you can consider some group activities or role-playing exercise or reflective assignments such as like that to help students connect the theoretical concept to real life situation by fostering active participation and hands-on experience. Can you understand that, Rizky? All right, thank you so much. So is there any question? Any other question? All right, I think that's all from me. Thank you for participating in my presentation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.